Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Startup Showcase. My name's Adiran, and I'm the CTO for Microsoft for Startups at the AI Advisory Group. And today we have a special guest here, Jonathan from Deci. Deci is one of the top startups that we have in our AI program, Pegasus. And they have a lot of experience with generative AI, and even before that. So you can learn a lot about their experience, some of their challenges, and the learnings from being one of the early adopters of generative AI. So, Jonathan, welcome.
Hi.
Very excited to have you here. Tell us a little bit about yourself and Deci.
Great. So first of all, thank you for inviting me. So I'm Jonathan, the co-founder and COO at Deci. Deci is a deep learning development platform, and we help AI teams to build, optimize, and deploy better deep learning models to production. When I say better, I mean better in terms of efficiency, quality, accuracy. And basically, we support many domain and use cases, generative AI, NLP, computer vision, and with our platform, our customers are able to deliver better products because their models are much more have much better performance, much faster, so quick time to production. And last but not least, lower cost. Because models are much more efficient and cost is a big thing lately.
We all hear it from our startups that cost is a big thing. So you're definitely one of the early adopters. I think you've been in this place before people even understood, how NLP is going to change the world and generative AI. So maybe tell us a little bit about how you started and what happened when the generative AI kind of boom happened a year ago. Did it change the company? Did you feel like it's competing or it's working with you?
So actually, I don't think it changed the company. It's just the right place, the right time. So we founded Deci 4 years ago, a bit more. And basically, we're trying to solve a big problem that we think it's a big problem. And now I think that everyone knows it's a big problem. It's the problem of inference. And the inference gap, we call it, and I'll explain. Models are becoming larger and larger and are becoming more compute hungry, let's say. But the underlying hardware is not keeping up the pace. And therefore, there is a gap that you have to mitigate somehow. And just to highlight, I'm talking about inference, not about training.
Yeah.
And we're trying to mitigate this gap, and our mission is to unlock the advantages of deep learning and to remove the barriers from development and production. Okay, so 4 years ago, I think that the common sense or the trend was that training is much more of a problem than the inference, also in terms of cost. And we always say that inference is a much bigger problem. It's not a competition, right?
Yeah.
But this is what we focused on. And I think that nowadays it's very clear, especially in LLMs, that inference is a big problem. For example, it was published that 1 week of inference of ChatGPT it cost more than the whole training of ChatGPT. So I don't know if that's the exact
we
number.
can't comment on it, but it's definitely expensive.
I don't really know, and I think it's maybe an understatement because you have more and more users, and the more you scale, the more the inference is an issue, the inference cost. But long story short, we believe that inference is something that we need to take care of, and inference at scale is very costly, and that's what we're trying to fix.
So that's amazing. You've done this before everybody understood that there's a big market for this. Let's see a little bit about the platform. I know a lot of people are probably really eager to see how Deci looks like. So can you show us a quick demo of what you currently do?
Sure. Basically, working with our platform, it consists of 3 steps. The first step is to choose a pre-optimized foundation model or to build a custom model. I want to emphasize a bit more about our underlying technology here. So our technology is called AutoNAC. It stands for Automated Neural Architecture Construction. And it's basically our proprietary version of neural architecture search. What does it mean? It means that we have an algorithm that searches among many different permutations of possible neural nets for the optimal neural net for the task for the hardware and the characteristic of the data. Okay, so basically what we can achieve is to have an optimal neural net with a specific target. So we can target low latency, high throughput, and even a higher accuracy. Okay, so with this technology, you get different, more optimized neural net. And going back to what I said, so you can choose a pre-optimized one off the shelf, let's say. For example, Deci is one of the best and more efficient text generation LLMs in the world. It's produced with our Autonac technology. Or we can build you a custom model with our engine. That's the first step. The next step is to train or fine-tune it with your data. So, everyone's at the end of the day want to be special, want a competitive advantage, and they want to leverage their own data and their specific business expertise or domain expertise. So this is the second step. And the third step is using our inference SDK that is called Inferri to optimize the runtime and serve it. Okay, so there we have a tool, an SDK that is called Inferri LLM. It's a very efficient runtime engine with engineering and algorithmic techniques such as selective quantization, hybrid compilation, and the proprietary optimized kernels that allow you to run models much more efficiently.
That's amazing.
So it's an end-to-end process from the efficient model to the serving of this model at scale.
So, we've partnered a lot, both in some of the platform capabilities, as long as also you're publishing now your Deci models on Azure Model Catalog. So everyone, if you want, this is a great opportunity to go to the Model Catalog and explore what Deci are doing. So you're truly an early adopter. I mean, we have a lot of startups in the Startup Showcase here. You're really one of the early adopters here. What would you say are your top learnings for startups that are currently on their first step? They're looking at that AI flood. They're saying, okay, I kind of need to respond to what's happening. So is there any learnings or something you can share with them?
Sure. So I think that we're a bit different maybe from other startups because we're not in the application layer, but the startup that are doing the application layer are maybe our customers. So we're in the infrastructure layer. And so the things that we see is, I think that having a Gen AI strategy is a difficult dilemma, whether to go with open source model or closed source models. It's a trade-off between having the ability to tweak everything and control the quality and control the privacy, or to move fast, right? Yeah. And you have to choose it early on. And I think that startups need to think about it and also rethink about it, because at the beginning, at the POC stage, maybe you want to go fast just to prove the concept, to see that it really solves a business case. But then you need to think longer term. And then you need to think about things like how you can differentiate yourself, okay? If everyone has the same model, you don't have a differentiation. The second thing is about privacy. Your customers maybe are, I don't know, from the financial sector or something like that, are super strict about it. And last but not least, about the unit economic of your solution. Yeah. Because if you are scaling with something that is that the unit economic is not really profitable, you're going to get into very, very high inference cost.
Yeah.
That's one thing. The other thing is that everything is moving so fast, and you need to be really, informed about what's happening, because every day something new is going out in this space, and it's a big challenge, I think.
Yeah. So I hear a lot about the challenges on the Gen AI strategy, and obviously the things that you're saying are truly from experience of someone that has been there. I mean, talking about pricing and optimization before and not after you get the first bill of how much did it cost you to get to build Gen AI is definitely a great learning. So looking at the customer space, do you see some potential? And you're working with a lot of industries, a lot of different types of customers. Is there a big industry, a big domain, a big trend that if I'm a startup at this area, you would say, go now, this is what's happening from what you're seeing?
So as you said, we're a cross industry, so we see a lot of industry and a lot of use cases. I can mention some, and maybe we'll have a conversation about it. So we're seeing use cases in the financial industry. So companies that take a big amount of data and analyze financial trends and risk on top of this. And using LLMs, this can scale to very big cost, let's say. So we see a lot of value there to have more efficient models. Also, financial sector has the privacy that I mentioned earlier. This is one thing. We're seeing a healthcare industry, so analyzing patient data and kind of also transcription and summarization to let's say optimize the experience of the patient at the end of the day and the doctor. So this is another thing we see, and also of course marketing. So we're seeing image generation, which is pretty amazing, video generation, content generation, also productivity tools, which is not purely marketing, but
So if you're...
I hope I answer your question. But
yeah. I mean, there's a lot there.
Yeah.
Obviously, on the traditional enterprises like financial services or healthcare, there's a lot of new use cases around summarization, usage of this technology, and obviously marketing is a big place. So I would say, if I'm taking everything you're saying, regardless to your industry, you probably have to do something with it right now, because that's impacting pretty much all of your customer base. And you're really at the top of the seat to look at those industries. I want to go back a little bit to the challenges. And I think this is where a lot of our startups are currently kind of struggling, because the promise is amazing. There's a lot of industries, a lot of hype, but there's probably a lot of don'ts there that a startup cannot, fail in this, because if we're doing something wrong, they probably don't have the time or the money to burn on like massive mistakes. So you mentioned a little bit about optimization and the connection to this to pricing. Can you share a little bit more about this and maybe talk briefly on the Deci LM model, the optimized version?
Sure. So I think one of the biggest challenge a startup that is going to scale its solution is going to face is the cost of the inference, as I mentioned earlier. And I think it's something that most startups don't really think about, because it's not in our nature to solve the problem of 1 week. We're a startup, we want to be agile. So we're solving the now. We want to have a proof of concept, we want to have some customers, but then you find yourself with a scale, with a huge bill. And I think that having the ability to plan ahead and to think about efficiency and production scale today and not tomorrow is a very big thing to do, to plan ahead. This is basically what we're offering. So our models are much more efficient by design. So the neural architecture search is finding the optimal neural net for example, throughput. Okay, so token per second, much better on a certain hardware. Okay, much better than state of the art in the same category. And you're taking this optimal model and run it in efficient and runtime SDK. Okay, so together paired, they provide much higher, for example, throughput, if that's the use case that you're targeting, tokens per second, while saving the same accuracy. So I want to tell you a bit about this. It's always a matter of trade-off if you go for speed, for runtime, or accuracy.
Yeah. So you're talking in the challenges part a lot about cost and maybe optimization and accuracy. I know you have a really good solution there with the Deci LM. So maybe you can show us a little bit about how you can solve this problem ahead of its happening. Because most of the startups that I meet, they don't think about this before getting the first bill. So it's good to get some of your insights here.
Sure. So Deci LM is the most efficient model in its category. It's a text generation model compared to state-of-the-art models such as Llama 2, Mistral, Falcon, and MPT. And basically, it consists of two components, let's say. The model itself. So the model itself is algorithmically much more efficient. This is done with our neural architecture search technology. And the other part is the Inferri LLM. Inferri LLM is an inference SDK that is a runtime engine that runs this model very efficiently with optimized kernels, techniques such as selective quantization, hybrid compilation, and together paired, they generate very high throughput and in terms of token per second, while not compromising on accuracy. And I want to talk about this a bit. So when we talk about optimization and runtime optimization, so there's always a trade-off between the accuracy and the runtime. And many teams try to squeeze out speed, but they compromise on accuracy. And at the end of the day, it's not something you want to do because it hurts the quality of your product, right? And your differentiation. And our promise is to save, to not compromise on accuracy. So you can go faster. And when you go faster, you pay less, okay? Higher throughput meaning that you can run the same workload on less GPUs or maybe more affordable GPUs. Okay, that's how you save the money, you save the cost, but you don't compromise on your product quality. Another thing that you can have is if you want to have, for example, if your deep learning is kind of a bottleneck in your user experience, so optimizing the model can enable a better user experience. So it's not only a matter of cost, it's also you can have a better product with more efficient models. So I hope I answered your question.
Yeah. Perfect. So first of all, thank you, Jonathan. And I really appreciate you coming here and sharing from the experience of Deci with our startups. And for all of the startups out there, if you're still not part of the Founders Up program in Microsoft, this is a great way to get Azure AI credits that you can use both for Deci LM and the models that you just heard, and other capabilities within AI. A good learning is to see or to take what Deci was just sharing right now. Do the research. Understand that everything that you're doing right now at Pilot will go to scale. So thinking about optimization, accuracy, pricing, those are things that we need to take into account right now. And I think Azure is the best place to get the best of all breeds, from open source to DeciLM all the way to OpenAI. So that's my call to action for you. And I'll see you in the next episode of the Startup Showcase.